spirit, no hate, no devil, no demon, no enemy formed against me shall prosper. If God be for you, can be against you. If God be for you, can be against you. Tell your neighbor, I'm so glad that somebody told me that 8 is the number of new beginnings. And even though he had gone 8 days without power, God said, I'm giving you another chance to begin again. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, say, I'm so glad that God gave me one more chance to begin again. Because the Bible tells us here that he showed up in the room. It says that they had been in the room now trying to convince Thomas that Jesus was back, and Thomas did not believe that God was back from the dead. But verse number 26 says, it says, then came Jesus, and I'm going here now, but I'm so glad that when I was in a bad place and did not believe, then came Jesus. When I was in a place where I did not have the faith that I needed to have, then came Jesus. Don't hold me down, brother musician. Thank you, sir. You want to look at your neighbor and tell him, say, neighbor, I don't know about you, but I have not always made the right decision. But when I was on the brink of losing my faith, tell him, say, then came Jesus. Hallelujah. When I was down and out and couldn't see my way, then came Jesus. And Jesus shows up and he tells Thomas, he says, put your hand in my hand. He says, put your hand in my side. And Thomas looked at him, and all he could say was, my Lord and my God. Have I got a witness in here? And I came to tell somebody that what Jesus did is he made a believer out of him. And you ought to tell your neighbor that on June the 3rd, 2011, my testimony is that God made a believer out of me. Look at your neighbor and tell him like you're really a believer. Say, neighbor, he made a believer out of me. When did he do it? Somebody said, one day when I was lost. I'm so glad that he died upon the cross. Tell your neighbor, he made a believer out of me. And I got to go to my seat now, but I want somebody to know that you are not like Thomas, and you did not have the faith that you needed to have, but you are not alone. It's not just you, it's not just telling your neighbor. Say, neighbor, there are some people that will not believe until they can see it. There are some people that will not believe that God's a way maker until they see it. There are some people that will not believe that God is a healer until they see it. So say, neighbor, if you need to see an example, say, look at me. Say, neighbor, if you need a testimony that that you can put your hands on. Say, look at me, because I'm a believer that God is a healer. I'm a believer that God's a way maker. I'm a believer that God's a provider. Why do you believe it? Because one day he made a way for me, and I want hell to know on the night that you can throw down, but I choose to believe. You can throw misery, but I choose to believe. You can throw pain, but I choose to believe. What do you believe, church? What do you believe, young lady? What do you believe, young man? Say, I believe that I'm the head and not the tail. I believe that weeping may endure for a night, but joy, I said joy comes in the morning. What do you believe? I believe now unto him that's able to do exceeding and abundantly above all I can ask and think. Take me higher. Ask your neighbor. I feel like preaching now. Ask your neighbor, what do you believe? Then look him in the face and say, I believe that no weapon, no hate, no devil, no demon, no enemy formed against me shall prosper. If God be for you, who can be against you? If God be for you, who can be against you? Tell your neighbor, and I'm out of here. Tell that neighbor, I got one more thing that I choose to believe tonight. Say, I will believe the report of the Lord. The report says that I'm healed. The report said that I'm free. The report said my family's saved. The report said I'm coming out. The report said that I'm delivered. The report said that God's got a blessing with my name on it. And I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. If you believe it, say yeah. Say yeah. 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 Yeah.